Mr. Max, with your connections in the industry, it's a shame you're still just a sales manager. I feel bad for you. If you're willing, the position of president of our group in China is yours." Inside a private room at the luxurious Oasis Club, the client raised his glass to me again, full of sincerity. "I'll consider it." I smiled and raised my glass. "David, let's sign a contract first. Once this export deal is settled, I can get myself a vacation. There are some things that need to be taken care of during this vacation." Just then, the door to the private room was suddenly pushed open. "This is Lisa, the president of Superior Horizon Trading. You, luxurious Oasis, won't even give her a private room." The man who spoke was tall and quite handsome, but a bit sleazy. He had a woman in his arms, none other than my wife, Lisa. Lisa was clearly drunk, swaying. I could see clearly that her hand was tightly wrapped around the man's waist. That man was her executive assistant, Jake. "Max, what are you doing here?" When Jake saw me, there was a tone of accusation in his voice. "Business," I responded with a smile, showing no emotional fluctuation. For a qualified businessman, controlling emotions is a required course, even if I might have been cheated on. There had been rumors in the company for a while, especially since Lisa, under some pretense, rewarded Jake with a Maserati in the company's name. I had asked Lisa about it, telling her that if she had fallen in love with someone else, she should just say so, and we could have a decent divorce. But she said she and Jake were completely innocent, and to prove it, she even threatened to kill herself. I believed her, but I never expected to see this scene with my own eyes. When Lisa heard my voice, she quickly pushed Jake away, a flash of panic in her eyes. But instead of explaining, she became angry and questioned, "Max, are you following me? Let's be logical." I pointed to the food and drinks on the table and said, "I arranged to meet a client here to discuss business. I've been here for almost an hour. Do you think a stalker would arrive before the person being stalked?" David quickly added, "Yes, Miss Lisa. Mr. Max and I have been here for quite a while." He was a bit embarrassed. After all, any fool could see that I was being cheated on. However, I could see a hidden excitement in his eyes. He probably couldn't wait for me to get a divorce and join his company. "Who do you think you are, daring to interrupt Ms. Lisa while she's speaking?" Jake pointed at David and cursed, then said to Lisa, "Lisa, Max must have known you were coming here, and he knew you liked this room. He deliberately waited here to embarrass you. Max, you're so devious it's disgusting." Lisa immediately believed Jake's words and pointed at me. "I never thought you were so petty. I've told you so many times, Jake and I are just colleagues, but you don't trust me at all." David's face also turned cold, a murderous look in his eyes. He was in the import-export business and had spent years in turbulent foreign countries, starting his career with blood on his hands. I pressed David's hand, nodded to reassure him, then stood up and walked towards Lisa and Jake. Standing in front of them, Jake pointed at me and said, "What are you doing getting so close? Are you angry because I exposed you?" Lisa glared at me and said, "Max, don't you trust me, even after all this?" "Trust is a small matter." I loosened my tie, looked coldly at Jake, and said, "The big issue to resolve now is that you need to apologize to David." "Me apologize to him?" Jake scoffed. "I'm Brian's special assistant, and he's just a client of yours, a mere sales manager. Does he even deserve an apology from me?" "I'll make you apologize." I nodded, swiftly grabbed Jake's hair, and with a slight exertion, tossed him out. Then, before he could regain his balance, I kicked him in the back of the knee, forcing him to kneel before David. I smashed a wine bottle and pressed the jagged glass against Jake's face. "One last time, apologize or you're done." I'm sorry, David." Jake was so scared he cried and even wet himself. David said nothing, stood up, buttoned his suit, and gave me an appreciative look. "Mr. Max, my offer stands. Contact me anytime, please. Take care of your family matters first." With that, he left. "Ah!" Lisa screamed, ran to Jake's side, and squatted down. Looking up at me, she roared, "Max, have you lost your mind? How dare you hit Jake? Even if you're jealous, there should be a limit, shouldn't there?" "Jealous?" I sat down on a chair, slowly wiping my hands with a silk napkin. "Lisa, you've misunderstood. I'm not jealous at all. I hit him because he offended my client. Every one of my clients is a valuable connection, and I have to protect them. That's all." At this moment, I still felt no emotional fluctuation. Was it because I didn't love Lisa? Of course not. Otherwise, after all my hard work starting the business, why would I have made her the CEO, just to give her face? But at the same time, I'm a very rational person. When there's infidelity in a marriage, I'll make an immediate cut. Why wouldn't you be jealous? Lisa asked, somewhat bewildered. I simply gave her a cold look and said, Lisa, when I loved you, you were the moon in the sky. Now that you're tainted, you're like shit in a latrine. Nobody gets jealous over shit. You're calling me shit? No. Are you saying you don't love me anymore? Lisa's eyes were filled with fear. I lit a cigarette, crossed my legs, and said, Lisa, we've been together for 7 years, right? You should know me well enough. I'd be disgusted if my brother wore my clothes, let alone a woman who's been touched by someone else. Do you think I wouldn't find that dirty? I stood up, intending to leave. I haven't been touched by anyone. Lisa ran over and hugged me from behind. Honey, you've really misunderstood. There's nothing between Jake and me. I was just drunk, and he was just helping me. I frowned in disgust and released the hand holding the cigarette. The cigarette fell, touching the back of her hand, and she yelped in pain, letting go. You were hugging, and you still need to explain? I've been drunk plenty of times while discussing business. Have you ever seen me being supported by a woman? I sneered. I'll have my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. Let's get divorced. No, I don't want a divorce, Lisa cried loudly. But she didn't have the courage to follow. Jake rushed over and said, Lisa, don't be afraid. You're the company's CEO. If he makes a scene, just fire him. He's just a freeloader living off you. Why are you afraid of him? Before heading back to the company, I called the shareholders. When I arrived, I noticed a strange look in the eyes of the employees. I didn't pay it much mind and went straight to my office. Emma, the vice president of sales, rushed in, shoving her phone in my face. In a company-wide group chat, Lily had sent a message. Max, the sales manager, had been fired. No wonder the employees were giving me strange looks. That was the reason. Dude, who the hell owns this company anyway? Emma said, clearly upset. The company's been a mess since your wife took over. Everyone's talking about how you've been cheated on, and that Jake guy is throwing his weight around. If this keeps up, my family is pulling our investment. I can handle it. Go back to work. I'll take care of him. I waved her off. Emma hesitated, then added with concern, if you're feeling down, I'm here to grab a drink with you. I'm not the one in the wrong. Why should I punish myself with alcohol? I chuckled. Don't worry, buddy. I've got this. And on the way back, I already spoke with your old man on the phone. Emma nodded and headed out, but paused at the door. Grace is back in the country. I still think you'd be a better fit as my brother-in-law. I ignored her and continued working. When I was finished, I had my driver take me home. As soon as I stepped inside, I was greeted by the aroma of cooking from the kitchen. I heard Lisa's voice. Honey, is it you? I made your favorite. Go wash up. I scoffed inwardly. I'd spotted a pair of men's shoes by the door, definitely Jake's. Was this woman brain dead? How dare she bring Jake back to our house? I changed my shoes and walked in, finding Jake in the kitchen, feeding Lisa a piece of meat. The delighted look on Lisa's face was a clear sign they were in a relationship. Who, husband? Lisa stammered, flustered at my arrival. Don't get me wrong. I was just tasting for seasoning, and my hands were full, so I asked Jake to help. No need to explain. And by the way, you don't need to call me husband anymore. I pulled the divorce papers from my briefcase. Sign these, and we'll go get the divorce finalized tomorrow. Honey, are you really divorcing me? Max, you're shameless. Lisa, I've already given you face, humbled myself to cook for you. What more do you want? Jake pointed at me, shouting. I even came here personally to apologize. What more do you want? Don't push it. I laughed at his words. I took off my suit jacket, slowly removed my watch, and loosened my tie, asking Jake, don't you think you're taking yourself a bit too seriously? What do you mean you came here personally to apologize? Is your apology worth that much? And what makes you any better? I'm the special assistant to the president, second only to one and above everyone else. What are you? You're just a sales manager. If you weren't Lisa's husband, you wouldn't even have the right to speak to me, Jake declared, rushing towards me. I casually kicked him away, but he charged at me again. This time, he grabbed my arm tightly, gritting his teeth and whispering, hit me. The more you hit me, the worse you'll look in Lisa's eyes. Then, when you divorce, I'll take your place. I laughed again, losing interest in hitting him. I patted his shoulder and said, "Kid, have you been watching too many cheesy dramas? Do you think this is some kind of game for the wealthy?" "What do you mean?" Jake clearly didn't understand. I shook my head and smiled. "In that case, let's get everyone together and talk." Not long after, Lisa's family arrived. Lisa's father and mother had always been very kind to me. Although I didn't come from a prestigious background, what I possessed now was equivalent to that of a wealthy family. Moreover, everything I had earned through my own hard work, and it had nothing to do with the Lisa group. Therefore, Lisa's parents had always thought highly of me. "Max, what on earth is going on?" Lisa's father rubbed his hands together. He had heard that I wanted a divorce, and he was already quite agitated. I pointed at Lisa and Jake and said, "They're involved with each other. This guy, Jake, even tried to provoke me into hitting him, hoping to make me look bad in front of Lisa, so we get divorced and he could take my place." Lisa's father's expression turned cold when he heard this. Lisa's mother pointed at Jake and scolded, "You worthless piece of trash, trying to climb the social ladder with such a despicable method. You're not worthy." Lisa's father gritted his teeth and said, "I'd rather disown this daughter than let you into the Lisa group." At this moment, Ryan, my brother-in-law, arrived. He clearly knew everything already, and he said to me with a stern face, "Brother-in-law, leave it to me. I guarantee he'll disappear." "Lisa, say something." Jake was terrified. He hadn't expected Lisa's family to be so protective of me. But Lisa ignored him, crying and saying to me, "Honey, I really know I was wrong. Please give me another chance." However, Jake spoke first. "I don't accept this. Max and I both came from humble backgrounds. Why can the Lisa group accept him, but not me?" "Listen up," Ryan said. "When my brother-in-law was in college, he was already starting his own business. Although it was small, he refused any help from the Lisa group. Later, when his business grew, my brother-in-law, to give my sister face, even gave up the CEO position to her. We've all seen how my brother-in-law went from being a poor kid to where he is today. And you? You're trying to climb the ladder by seducing a married woman." Ryan scoffed and said, "Let me tell you something else that will crush you. Even if my sister were stupid enough to marry you, you wouldn't get anything from the Lisa group. Don't forget, I'm the heir to the Lisa group." Jake's face was filled with despair, and Lisa didn't speak up for him. I looked at him and said, "Wealthy families aren't stupid. Those who lack ability and try to take shortcuts are useless in any class." Then I told Lisa's family that I was determined to get a divorce. They were helpless and could only take Lisa away for the time being. I could tell that Lisa didn't want a divorce, but it was too late for her to realize her mistake. As for whether I would be sad, of course. It's painful to lose so many years of feelings, but I won't torture myself. I rested for a night and arrived at the company very early the next day. An employee told me that Lisa had called a board meeting and asked me to go to the conference room. As soon as I arrived, what did she want to do? I entered the conference room and saw Jake sitting in my seat. The shareholders also looked at me with strange expressions. I found a seat and sat down, looking at Lisa, who was sitting at the head of the table. "What do you want?" Lisa stared at me coldly and said, "Max, I'll give you two choices. Either resign or continue our marriage." "Divorce," I said without hesitation. Lisa was trembling with anger, but she still said, "Fine. Then I announce your dismissal from all positions at Superior Horizon Trading." Jake looked at me provocatively and said, "Max, oh Max, although I won't get anything from the Lisa group, I'll have a share in this company from now on. You think you're entitled to something? Who do you think you are?" I glanced over, my tone light. Jake, with the look of a man who had already won, shot back a confident glare. But Lisa's response to him was frigid. "I told you. We have nothing more than a normal superior-subordinate relationship. Don't overthink it," Lisa said. "Irene, how could you?" Jake was on the verge of a breakdown. Lisa, her face frosty, stated, "Even setting aside the fact that nothing has happened between us, even if something had, and even if I did divorce Max, I would never marry someone like you." "Someone like me?" Jake was dumbfounded. "You're trying to climb the ladder using women, aren't you?" Lisa glared at him. "The reason I was nice to you was that Max had lost his initial passion for me, and I wanted to make him jealous. Even going to the club yesterday, I knew beforehand that Max would be there. That's why I went. Otherwise, I'd never let you get close." So why would I let you hold me yesterday? Jake's world seemed to shatter, and he was completely lost. Lisa no longer looked at him, turning to me instead. Honey, there really is nothing between us. I just wanted to make you jealous. I know I went too far, but you know how much I love you. Just give me a chance. Divorce. I looked at her calmly without a flicker of emotion. I wouldn't go back on what I'd already decided. And, honestly, I found her tainted. Even if it was just an act, but she had let Jake hold her, and I would never forgive that. Everyone has their limits, and she had crossed mine. Max, if you insist on a divorce, then I'll have to fire you. You founded this company, and I know better than anyone how much it means to you. I shook my head, a smile playing on my lips. You may be the president, but I own 65% of the company's shares. I am the owner of this company, and you are nothing. Lisa was stunned, as if the thought had just occurred to her. I had initially wanted to give her half of the shares, but the shareholders had objected. Why? Because the Lisa Group was substantial, and if Lisa held a large number of shares, coupled with her position as the legal representative, she could inject capital and dilute the shares at any time. The shareholders would be the biggest victims in that scenario. As for me, the shareholders trusted me. They were the initial investors when I started the company and knew my character well. However, with the conglomerate as large as the Lisa Group, they were dealing with pure businessmen, and they didn't trust them. Therefore, the shares remained in my possession. I pointed towards the conference room door. All right, all your positions have been revoked. Please leave and don't disrupt our meeting. Lisa looked at me bewildered and helpless, unable to utter a word, slumping back in her chair. I turned my gaze to Jake. Young man, do you understand the game of the wealthy now? Jake opened his mouth, but not a single word escaped. I couldn't be bothered with them anymore and called security to have them both thrown out. The board meeting concluded, and the shareholders departed contentedly. However, within the company, a sense of unease permeated the air. Upon inquiry, I discovered that rumors were being spread. The gist of it was that the company's largest shareholder, the Aaron Group, was withdrawing its investment, and a company without such backing was doomed. The mid-level and senior management knew the truth of the situation, but the rank and file employees did not. They were in a state of confusion, half believing and half doubting, all fearing for their jobs. I instructed Taylor to investigate. It turned out the rumor mongers were Aaron's people. As CEO, she had easily placed her own people within the company. They weren't in key positions, so I hadn't paid them much mind before. Besides, I had complete faith in Aaron before, and suspicion never crossed my mind. Now, with these individuals acting in concert, they had indeed created a minor disturbance. However, these were small, time players, easily dismissed without any impact on the company. They were swiftly removed, and the company issued a notice clarifying that I was the owner, which finally reassured the lower-level employees. Sitting in the CEO's office, I felt a pang of discomfort. The desk was covered with photos of Aaron and me, most of these photos from our university days. I took a deep breath and was about to have them all cleared out, but then I spotted a diary. I opened it, and it was Aaron's handwriting. There wasn't much written, but it still stung. Ethan is getting busier and busier. It's been ages since he last watched a movie with me. Business isn't really that important, is it? Aaron and Ethan have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of our lives. There's a new intern, all slicked hair and rouge, trying to flirt with me. What a joke. I could use this joke to tease Ethan, make him jealous. I closed the diary, unable to read further. It wasn't that I was wavering, just feeling a sense of regret. She must have forgotten my promise to her, to earn enough money by the time I was 40, then retire and travel the world with her. That's why I've been pushing myself so hard. At that moment, there was a knock on the office door, and then Sarah entered. Sarah, Taylor's sister, was 5 years younger than me. I remembered her coming of age ceremony when she'd gotten drunk and secretly confessed her feelings to me. That day, she had said, Ethan, I won't disrupt your relationship with Aaron, but you were the first person I ever liked. I'd regret it if I didn't say it. You don't have to feel burdened. I'm going abroad anyway. I truly hadn't felt burdened and admired her candor. After so many years, she had blossomed into an even more beautiful woman. Ethan, my brother said you need an assistant, and he sent me to help, Sarah said timidly. I nodded and said, have someone tidy up and bring my things from my office. As for these, burn them. I left the company quickly. Back home, I had someone pack up all of Irene's things, but the house was filled with traces of her everywhere. The cute couple's toothbrushes, the simple and loose couple's pajamas, the kitchen utensils she had carefully prepared. Even the refrigerator was still covered with notes she had left in her delicate handwriting, writing over and over again that she loved me. Perhaps I really should give her a chance. I was starting to waver, and then my phone rang. I opened it to see a picture from Taylor on the beach. Irene was topless, and Henry was rubbing sunscreen on her back. Below there was a short video. After I clicked on the video, I cursed myself for being such a fool. I had actually wavered just now. Just then, Irene and Henry arrived, and Henry was shirtless, carrying thorns on his back. He came in and immediately knelt before me. "Mr. Ethan, I'm here to offer a humble apology. I was trying to climb the ladder by using Ms. Irene, but as Ms. Irene said, she didn't give me the slightest chance. Now I have nothing, but I believe a person should still have some conscience. I only ask that you forgive Irene." After Henry finished speaking, he kept kowtowing to me. Irene cried and said, "Honey, I was really wrong. Please give me a chance." I turned off my phone as if I hadn't seen anything. "Divorce. It's the best outcome," I said meaningfully. But Irene shook her head and said, "Honey, I don't want a divorce. Even if you don't want to give me a chance, you have to give the child a chance. I'm pregnant. I'm carrying our child. Are you sure you don't want a divorce?" I asked. Irene nodded. I also nodded and said, "Okay, no divorce." Henry immediately said, "Mr. Ethan, don't worry. I will disappear from your lives." Then he ran away. Irene was overjoyed and wept. I didn't say anything. I just had them stop packing and put everything back in its place. Irene quickly went to cook for me, but halfway through, I was about to leave. "Honey, where are you going?" Irene asked pitifully. I glanced at her and said, "Sarah's back in the country. We have dinner plans. You eat by yourself." "But honey, she likes you. Don't you need to keep your distance?" Irene asked somewhat agitatedly. I looked at her and asked, "Don't worry about me or beg for a divorce. Choose one." "I won't worry about you, honey. I trust you," Irene said with a bitter face. I nodded, didn't say much, and left directly. As for Sarah, I really did have dinner plans with her. She missed the food stalls near our high school, so we went there. Heavy oil and heavy spice. We also drank ice, cold beer. As a result, before we even finished eating, both of our stomachs started to hurt. The food stall only had one bathroom, so we took turns. By the time we left, we were both completely weak. Sarah, wearing a white dress, sighed and said, "Xiaoying Ji, this reunion is not romantic at all." I nodded in deep agreement and said, "Just now the owner asked me why we were exploding eggplant boxes in the bathroom." "Exploding eggplant boxes? You mean the sound of going to the toilet?" Sarah's face was all red, but she couldn't stop laughing. We were tired of walking, so we got in the car and had the driver take her home. But Taylor kept me behind, saying he wanted to have a drink with me. I took some diarrhea medicine first, and then continued to eat and drink with Taylor. Soon after, Sarah also came to join in the fun. "Brother, is the cooperation with William on that side okay?" Taylor asked with a smile. I nodded and said, "William and I have a very good personal relationship. Last year, his security company over there was short of weapons, and I introduced him to a domestic broker, which solved the problem. So the cooperation will be fine." "That's a big deal. Enough to feed the company for 3 years." Taylor smiled and immediately changed the subject. "I'm actually not worried about you in business, but how are you going to solve this marriage problem?" I smiled and said nothing. Sarah kicked Taylor under the table, and he had to brace himself and say, "Anyway, I've decided you're going to be my brother-in-law. You figure it out." "Oh, brother, what are you doing?" Sarah pretended to be shy, but couldn't help laughing. Taylor glared at her and then said to me, "This girl has been thinking about you ever since she met you that day, and she hasn't been in a relationship for so many years. Now it can be considered that her long, cherished wish has come true. You should think about it." I nodded and said, "Take it slow. We need to get to know each other for a while first." After a little over 2 weeks together, Sarah and I made our relationship official. She was so forward, and I found it a bit overwhelming. But I was still married to Aaron, and I occasionally went home, even bringing Sarah with me a few times. Erin didn't make a scene when she saw us. She just cried silently to herself. As her belly grew bigger, my visits home became less and less frequent. Later, Alex confronted me several times. He respected me, but Erin was his sister after all. He said, "Bro, my sister can put up with you having a woman outside, but now that she's about to give birth, it's not right for you not to be there to take care of her, is it?" I didn't say anything, just brushed it off. Although Erin's company was huge, mine had also grown significantly, so Erin's group wouldn't act rashly. It wasn't until Erin gave birth that I went to the postpartum center with Sarah. The attitude of Erin's group towards me was no longer what it used to be, but we hadn't completely fallen out yet. Erin lay in bed, giving me a wry smile. "Honey, come see the baby." "It's not my child. Why would I?" I sneered. Erin was stunned, and then she started to cry. "Honey, what are you talking about? I've never been with any other man besides you. How could it not be your child?" "Erin, I told you that divorce was the best outcome, but you chose this low road, so don't blame me." I took out my phone, found a short video, and tossed it onto the bed. Everyone from Erin's group crowded around, and then they saw the eye-watering scenes of Erin and Henry. "I've calculated the time. This child can't possibly be mine." I smirked. Erin's father gritted his teeth and said, "Then why didn't you say so earlier?" "She's the one who chose to lose face. I gave her a chance." I pulled out another video and said, "See for yourselves. Erin, now that you're pregnant with my child, you can rely on Ethan. After the baby is born, we'll poison him, let him die slowly, and then everything in the company will be ours. Ethan is very smart. We might not be able to fool him. Then what do we do? Think of something. I need to prepare some things in advance to make him believe that I've always loved him, like photos, diaries, and stuff." I put away my phone and looked at Erin, whose face had turned pale. "Actually, I'm really curious. What did you see in Henry?" After her despair, Erin gave a bitter smile and sighed. "One wrong step leads to another. At first, he drugged me and threatened me with the video. I was led by the nose. My family was all on your side, even telling me that if I got divorced, I couldn't even go back to the Erin group, so I had to target you." "So even the board meeting, you were acting?" I asked. Erin nodded. I looked at Erin's group and said, "I will divorce Erin. Do you have anything to say?" They were speechless, but I could see the resentment in their eyes. In their minds, I should have brought all this out earlier, but why? Dare to mess with me, and you must be messed with by me. Am I made of clay? Soon after, Erin and I divorced. Then, the Erin group started secretly snatching my business. Later, I plotted with William, causing the Erin group to lose a large sum of money and then began to eat away at their business. Henry was also part of the scheme. He was sent to William's country and got arrested. He didn't die, but his life was worse than death, being tortured every day. As for the Erin group, it completely collapsed. Half a year later, Erin, in despair, jumped from a building. Before she died, she called me, saying that she was also a victim of Henry's and that if she hadn't been drugged, none of this would have happened. I didn't respond because if she hadn't given him the opportunity, how could Henry have drugged her? Sarah and I got married at the end of the year, starting a new life.